Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the channel. I already posted a trend line and a Fibonacci analysis video. This video is going to be specifically dedicated to Wyckoff analysis. So I just want to look at it through the lens of Wyckoff and what the possibilities are, where I see the stock at when it comes to Wyckoff specifically. We're also going to look at volume because volume is a big part of Wyckoff. If you're enjoying the video, make sure you drop a like on it at any given point. Also, you can drop a comment down below if you have any questions, as well as, if you want to add to the conversation. So feel free to do that. As always, watching the video until the end is the best way to support the content. So if you're enjoying it, make sure you're watching until the end. But if at any point you're not enjoying it, make sure you click off. All right. So this is what's going on. When it comes to Wyckoff, I still do generally believe, and I'll justify it using volume, but I do still generally believe that we are in a larger scale accumulation schematic, okay? And so what that looks like is you have a sell climax here, an automatic reaction, a couple sell tests in this phase down here. This is the phase B distribution. And right now, what I believe that you're in is a larger scale spring phase, okay? Spring or terminal shakeout. And it's possible that you've already had your secondary sell test of the bottom of this range. And so from a Wyckoff standpoint, if this is in fact accumulation, and again, I'll justify it using volume analytics, but if this is in fact accumulation, then you should be seeing some motion to the upside here, establishing this as a true bottom, which I do believe we have seen a true bottom. You're seeing it behave as a double bottom here before a reversal to the upside. That's what my conviction is currently. But obviously that can change if you break to a lower low, as we've discussed before, and I guess that we'll zoom in and we'll look at the closer in possibilities, right? So what's happening is this is an accumulation occurring within that spring phase of Wyckoff. So if you're not familiar, let me show you this. Yeah, so this is the schematic, and again, this is a schematic, so it's not necessarily like it has to follow this step by step, right? It's just a basic outline of what an accumulation would look like. So this would be that spring and test phase, but within these phases, you have smaller accumulations and smaller distributions, okay? So just for an example purposes, if you zoom in to this section of the chart, right? This is the section of the chart from June through August, right? Before you had this run up, you can see here that this is clearly an accumulation, right? You had that as your resistance region. This is your support region. This was a spring test, and then you had a markup. You had an LPS phase here, a markup. You back up LPS before your markup, just like you see in the schematic, right? So I'm saying that to say, basically, within accumulations, you can have smaller accumulations, right? And so what could be occurring here is that you're having another accumulation phase that's similar to that one back there. So what that would look like is this is a sell climax. This actually probably is a sell climax right here with an automatic reaction and then a sell test before a phase B distribution, as we discussed before in other videos. And then down here, and this is why it's also possible that you can still maintain this as an accumulation and still get a break to a lower low here, maybe to like maybe $20 or $19.50 before you reverse course. And in that case, then obviously the bottom wouldn't be in, but that is another possibility when it comes to Wyckoff before you have your reversal to the upside. Obviously we're kind of teetering on this zone here. And it looks really similar to that phase B. If I'm being honest, I mean, if you just look at it, if you just look at that section of the chart, you have this drive down, right? And then you kind of herboffle a little bit here above your support region, right? So, and I don't have the technology, but you see here, and right before phase C, how you have this little, it like bumps it bounces off of the support lines almost, and then it kind of just goes sideways a little bit. You could make the case that that's what's going on here, right? So let me make it smaller now, so you have something to compare it to. You see that general region in the chart, so that's definitely something to be looking out for. That would be if we're in a shorter term accumulation, which I believe that we are. It is also possible, and I've discussed this before, that we're in redistribution, but I don't think that that's likely. What you really want to see to break that is you're gonna want to break above this resistance trend. Like you have to start making moves up, and once you get up here, you're gonna want to see a move above, right? So if that happens in the next few days, say you break down below to this $20 maybe region, right? Oh, I did not double click, dude. Say you break below, come back here and retest, you're going to want to, like, by the end of the month, you really want to be above $25 at least. Like that definitely has to happen. If not, then the case could certainly be made for redistribution, which we've talked about before. And then that would kind of be the confluence of the Fibonacci levels that we've talked about where, oh, sorry. Let me go to the pre-market high where you held above this 618 in that buy button collapse scenario. And if you get rejected by this trend line, the next time that you approach it, you're definitely going to be in that conversation of, okay, well, do we come down and test this like $15-ish region, right? So as a bull, you wouldn't want that to happen, but it's certainly on the table. Again, we've talked about it before. I think that what's most likely is you probably hold that $19.50 mark before you have a move up. That would then make this a spring, but springs can have a very aggressive reaction, okay? So you definitely want to see, even if you come down and fill this gap down here, right, to this like $17-ish range, you want to see an aggressive reaction from bulls, right? You want to establish this as a support afterwards, so like this $30 to $32 region, which makes sense. You want to establish that then as support, maybe retest it, break above, and then you're going to want to do the same thing with that $45 level. That's the sort of thing, and that's what you want to see. That's going to establish this entire thing and as an accumulation. But just so that we have another way of viewing it, right? Like we don't want to just look at a piece of paper essentially that was made like 100 years ago and then just say, okay, yeah, that's what has to happen now, right? Looking at OBV is in a really interesting place now, right? We've talked about it a bunch of times on the channel. I know Tyler Wilson Investing talked about it most heavily probably early on when it comes to OBV on AMC. I had brought it up here and there before that, but I just remember him really, really trying to bring that point home. So credit to him on that. But anyway, you have this uptrend with OBV, right? As prices generally being in a downtrend, you can see that you're making lower lows. This is the 4-hour chart, by the way. You can see that you're making lower lows, but the OBV is making higher lows. What this could be signaling is that there's accumulation by smart money going on, okay? And so now you're kind of retesting this potential trend line on the OBV. So if you're not familiar, basically OBV, it adds volume to the balance sheet whenever you have a green candle, and it subtracts it whenever you have a red candle, okay? So on different time frames, it'll look different because you have different candles, right? But generally speaking, all of the OBV, especially on higher time frames, is pretty much saying the same thing, that you're in a general uptrend as prices generally going down. And so what you want to see from an OBV perspective, and I would say that this kind of correlates, right? You want to hold this trend line. You want to have a nice move up in OBV. Even if you come back and retest, you can see it behaves as an ascending triangle. So I'd say that you really want to come through soon here. And I think you have a good shot at it to come up and break out of this region with some good volume to add to this balance sheet. And that would confirm, perhaps you could get up to this $32 and then you could confirm this as basically the bottom of this trading range. I feel like if you broke above 32 with some conviction, at this point, especially if you came back and retested it, that basically you would be saying, okay, yeah, this was certainly the bottom for AMC, and then AMC should be making moves up going forward to higher highs, hopefully. So that's definitely, and I mean, for the broader trading range, you're going to be saying, well, you know, you do want to break above this like $48 to $50 range before you talk about new all-time highs and stuff like that. And we've talked about that on the channel before. So that's that with the 4 hour. Also, I was looking at the daily OBV. I feel like the daily OBV is kind of looking better. I'm being honest. Let me go show you. Holy crap, dude. Damn, I'm glad that I didn't sit there and scroll through that whole thing. That would have been terrible. Yeah, so you can see here that perhaps you're establishing this as a low on the OBV. Hopefully find it as support and then bounce up. And then this is like a resistance range. So you kind of have the same thing going on here. Pull this down here like this. Yeah, so I see this as an ascending triangle. I know that Tyler was saying that he thinks it could be seen as a rising wedge. I mean, you would have to see some more action here where you're making higher highs on the OBV in order to establish that, in my opinion. I think that it's probably more likely that you have like almost like a bull trap type scenario here. And this is actually an ascending triangle on the OBV. So that's how I see it. So yeah, that's basically the Wyckoff analysis with some volume analysis kicked in there. Make sure you go in and you're teaching yourself about this. Go play with the charts. Look into the things that I'm talking about and find other perspectives on them. But yeah, I see it as divergence. I see this as establishing a bottom. So if there are lower lows, I don't think that they're going to be very significant. But obviously, we've talked about the scenarios where it could be redistribution, and you do get sent lower into a different trading range, and you then would have to establish that like $15-ish range as support as well. And that would make the shorter term redistribution. But I do still think that that would be in alignment with a terminal shakeout, where you're actually establishing a bottom down here, and then this actually becomes a spring. So that's how I see it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you go check out the trend line analysis and the Fibonacci analysis that I did as well. Until next time.